Today, we're diving into something big. We're talking about a project called APXCoin, and its goal is, well, it's massive. They're trying to use blockchain to completely tear down and rebuild the way media and entertainment get funded. And it all starts with this one super frustrating question. You've probably thought about it yourself. Why do we keep getting the same reboots and sequels over and over again when there are so many brilliant original ideas out there that just never happen? Well, the answer, as it so often is, comes down to money.
I mean, if you're in this industry, you know this question all too well. You have a brilliant project, you've lined up your international partners, the vision is crystal clear, but actually getting it done on time and on budget, well, that's a whole different story, isn't it?
The root of the problem is fragmentation. You're juggling multiple companies across different legal jurisdictions, dealing with complex deliverables, and everyone's incentives aren't quite aligned. The result is that the money, the actual work, and the accountability are all on separate, disconnected rails. It's a system practically designed for delays and cost overruns.
And that right there is what we call the cross-border execution problem. It's not about one person dropping the ball. It's a systemic issue. The basic infrastructure is broken. And this is precisely the challenge APX Group was built to solve from the ground up.
Big international media projects, the kind that span multiple countries, they often struggle or even fail for one core reason. The money, the actual creative work, and the accountability are all moving on completely separate tracks. They just aren't connected. And that disconnect creates a ton of friction and, of course, a ton of risk.
What's really fascinating is just how deep this goes. You've got dozens of counterparties in different countries all operating under their own rules. You have incentives that just don't line up. The way revenue gets distributed is notoriously complex, and simple settlement delays can completely freeze a project's cash flow. See, this isn't just a small inefficiency. It's a fundamental roadblock to getting ambitious work done.
So how do you fix a problem as deep-seated as fragmentation? Well, you can't just put a Band-Aid on it. You have to rebuild the system with a truly integrated solution. And this is where the APX approach gets really interesting. Instead of those separate, wobbly rails, APEX combines 3 core disciplines into one unified system. You get rigorous investment discipline, hands-on operational execution, and a modern, efficient Web3 settlement rail to connect it all together. And that settlement rail? That's APXCoin. So let's be crystal clear. This is not a speculative asset. It's an internal utility token designed for one specific purpose, to make the entire APX ecosystem work more efficiently. The power of APXCoin really comes from its utility, and that utility is built on 3 distinct but interconnected pillars that give it a real-world function inside the network.
The APX Group's approach really boils down to 3 core pieces working together. First, there's a serious investment discipline. Second, you have hands-on operational execution across their entire network. And third, they use a Web3 settlement rail to connect it all. Think of it like a secure, programmable financial layer. This model is all about reducing that execution risk by finally getting all those separate tracks onto one single unified system.
And this visual here really shows the concept perfectly. See, APXCoin isn't the entire company. It's the internal plumbing. It's the coordination and settlement layer that connects all the different parts of the APX ecosystem, making sure they all work together efficiently. So let's get right to it. To really understand how this all works, we need to define exactly what APXCoin is, and maybe just as important, what it isn't.
Okay, here's the one-sentence definition. APXCoin is the Web3 native settlement and participation layer for the APX ecosystem. Its whole reason for being is to handle internal value transfer and to help coordinate the network as it scales. Bottom line, it's a tool, not a speculative asset.
Its function really stands on 3 pillars. First, it's a settlement rail. This is for making internal payments and issuing credits between partners in the network. Second, it acts as a participation layer, which is all about managing access, roles, and incentives. And third, it's a scalability layer that standardizes how transactions happen across all these different partners and countries, which, cuts down on that cross-border friction we were just talking about.
Well, APXCoin's answer is a totally new idea they're calling DeFi, which stands for Decentralized Media Finance. It's a whole new playbook. And here's what that really means. DeFi is all about using blockchain to kick the doors open. It's about letting creators go straight to the audience for funding and using the blockchain's transparent ledger so everyone can see exactly where every single dollar goes. No more smoke and mirrors. Now, this is where it gets really clever. Under the hood, they're not just betting on one blockchain. They're using two. It's a dual-chain strategy. They use Ethereum for the heavy lifting. Its security is top-notch, perfect for protecting the main treasury of funds. But then, for all the day-to-day stuff, like community voting or marketplace purchases, they use Solana, which is lightning fast and has practically zero fees. It really is the best of both worlds.
It is the software, the transaction and participation layer that lets this massive, real-world operating network coordinate its moving parts and grow on a global scale with an efficiency that just wasn't possible before. It's a really clear vision for where media execution is headed. If you want to learn more, you can visit the APXGroup.com. And just as a final note, please remember that this content is for informational purposes only. APXCoin is a utility token for the Apex ecosystem. It does not represent an investment or a security, and participation does involve risk. Thanks for watching. So, if that's the problem, how do you build a better system? APXCoin's answer starts with its technology. See, it's not just built on one blockchain. It's using what's called a multi-chain architecture to get the best of all worlds. This chart pretty much lays out their entire strategy. Instead of trying to make one blockchain do everything, APXCoin is smart about it. It taps into the unique strengths of three of the biggest players out there: Ethereum, Base, and Solana. The best way to think about this is like having a specialized toolkit. You use Ethereum for its massive global liquidity and ironclad institutional-grade security.
The bottom line? It saves a massive amount of time and eliminates those costly human errors. Second, we have the participation layer. This is about more than just moving value around. This layer governs how partners actually engage with the ecosystem, managing access, defining roles, and giving them a real voice in key decisions. And the third pillar is scalability. This is so important. By using standardized protocols, APXCoin allows the whole network to grow without becoming a logistical nightmare. A new partner in a new country can plug into the exact same system, ensuring coordination stays seamless as the ecosystem expands. Okay, so that's the theory. Now let's look at how this actually plays out in a couple of practical, real-world scenarios. All right, think about a typical production. A contract is signed, and the funds are programmatically locked in escrow. As soon as a milestone is verified as complete, payment is released automatically, instantly. No more chasing invoices. This gated, milestone-based system dramatically reduces counterparty risk and ensures everyone gets paid on time.
All right, so that's the theory. But how does this actually play out in the real world? Let's walk through a few very concrete examples. So, let's imagine a post-production house in Barcelona that's working on a project funded out of New York. Instead of a mess of wire transfers and invoices, the whole process is automated. Funds for the first milestone get released. As soon as the deliverable is submitted and verified, the next payment is automatically reconciled and sent. It directly ties payment to performance, which creates real accountability and just makes everything more efficient. Okay, now think about global distribution.
And this comparison just says it all. The old way of coordinating with partners, it's manual invoicing, opaque reporting, and a reconciliation process that can literally take weeks. The APX way, it's standardized and instant. Reporting is transparent and in real time. Reconciliation is automated. You're cutting out delays and unnecessary intermediary fees. For partners inside the network, APXCoin becomes a tool for much deeper engagement. They can use it for very practical benefits like offsetting fees or paying for post-production services. And by staking it, they gain a real voice in the future of the ecosystem.
APXCoin can be used as a standard unit of account for settling up and reporting with partners in different countries. This makes the incredibly complex accounting and currency conversions that usually plague international revenue sharing so much simpler. You get clear, transparent reporting for everybody involved.
And finally, let's talk about the network itself. When new partners join the ecosystem, the token can be used to bring them on board. It can be used to offset fees for services within the network, or even act as a system of internal credits for things like booking studio time. This really helps build a deeply integrated and collaborative ecosystem.
And all of this leads us to what might be the most critical point to understand. In a world full of crypto hype, it is absolutely essential to get that APXCoin is designed from day one to be a utility tool.
It is not a vehicle for market speculation.
Let's just put it side by side. APXCoin is for internal use inside the ecosystem. Its value is tied to hitting real-world operational milestones, and its whole structure is designed for stability. Now, that is the polar opposite of speculative tokens, which are built for public trading, driven by emotion and market sentiment, and are inherently designed for volatility.
This brings us to a critical distinction, one that really sets APXCoin apart from almost everything else out there. This is about utility, not speculation. Let me be perfectly clear here. APXCoin is an internal utility layer. It is a tool for network efficiency. It is not a get-rich-quick asset. It is not a promise of financial returns, and it is definitely not a public hype token.
The goals just couldn't be more different.
And here's the hard data that really proves that point. The tokenomics are clear. 97.5% of the entire supply is held in the APX treasury. This isn't for a big public sale, it's for long-term governance and ensuring the ecosystem stays stable.
And if the community votes yes, you get your funding directly from the treasury and can even use a built-in marketplace to hire the crew you need. So you can really boil down the token's job to 3 things. First, governance. Your tokens are your vote. You decide what gets made. Second, exchange. It's the official currency of the platform. You use it for fees, for services, for everything. And third, incentives. You can stake your tokens to participate, and you can actually earn more APX just by reviewing projects. It's a whole review-to-earn model. Okay, this all sounds incredible, but for any of this to last, the economics have to be rock solid. So let's get into the nitty-gritty and look at the tokenomics behind APXCoin. The first thing you need to know is this number, 2 billion. That's it. That's the maximum number of APXCoin that will ever exist, period. It's hard-coded. No more can ever be minted, which means the supply can't be diluted. And just look at this allocation. That giant slice of the pie, 97.5%, is locked away in the treasury. So let's bring this all together. When you step back and look at the big picture, what's the ultimate goal? Well, it's about building a better, more scalable foundation for the entire global media industry. If you take away just one thing today, let it be this. APX is first and foremost an operational business. It has physical infrastructure, global partners, and a proven track record of executing complex media projects in the real world. APXCoin is the purpose-built protocol that connects all the different nodes of this global network. It's the engine that enables this entire real-world machine to operate and to scale with modern efficiency and transparency. This isn't for insiders or early VCs. It's a massive war chest dedicated to funding the projects that the community believes in. And if a fixed supply wasn't enough, they're taking it a step further. The system has a deflationary burn mechanism. Basically, every time someone uses the marketplace, a small bit of the fee is destroyed forever. So the more active the platform becomes, the scarcer the remaining tokens get. It's designed to reward the long-term believers. So the economics are designed for the long haul. But what about the rollout? A great idea can fall apart without a solid plan. APXCoin has laid out a really deliberate path to build trust and stability from day one. To stop any kind of massive sell-off that could hurt the project early on, they've put some serious guardrails in place. For anyone in the pre-sale, their tokens are locked up tight for a full year. After that, they're only released gradually at 10% a month. This means early backers have to be in it for the long-term vision, not a quick flip. They're taking that same slow and steady approach to building market liquidity.
The structure is all about control and predictability, not hype.
So, where's all this headed? What's the ultimate vision? It's really about building and scaling a real, tangible, global network. And look, this is not just some concept floating around on a blockchain. APX Group is a real-world operating network. It has hubs in New York, London, and Barcelona, all connected to a huge ecosystem of studios, post-production facilities, and business partners all across the US and Europe. This physical infrastructure is what APXCoin is actually built to serve.
At the end of the day, APXCoin isn't the business itself.
Instead of just dumping everything onto exchanges at once, they have a phased 720-day plan. That's almost 2 years. It's all about creating a stable, healthy market that protects investors as the project grows. Okay, so we've looked at the broken system, the tech solution, how the token works, and the long-term plan. Let's bring it all home and talk about why this is such a potential game changer. This quote from their white paper just says it all, doesn't it? A new, more equitable standard. They're not just trying to build another crypto project. They are trying to create an entirely new, self-sustaining economy for creativity, one that's fairer for everyone involved all over the world.
So here's how it works in practice. Let's say you buy some tokens. For the first full year, 12 months, those tokens are completely locked. You can't do anything with them. Then, starting in month 13, 10% of your tokens unlock, and another 10% the month after that, and so on, until you get them all. The whole structure is built to encourage long-term holding, not short-term flipping.
And they are not messing around here. The terms are incredibly direct. Any attempt to sell or even transfer your tokens on any kind of exchange during that 12-month lockup is strictly prohibited. They're making it very clear.
And that really leaves us with this one final, really exciting question. When you take the power out of the hands of a few executives in a boardroom and give it to a global community, what happens? What incredible stories, what amazing art, what mind-blowing games will we finally get to see?
So what you're seeing in this chart is how they plan to scale up market liquidity. See, this isn't about just dumping everything onto the market on day one. Nope. It's a phased approach, methodically making the market deeper and more robust to support healthy, stable growth.
So, if we break that down, Phase 1 is all about bootstrapping, just getting that initial market up and running. Phase 2 is about expansion, really growing that liquidity. And finally, Phase 3 is all about stabilization, getting the ecosystem ready for its final stage of decentralization, which happens when the contract is renounced.
By integrating finance, operations, and settlements so tightly, APX isn't just improving the old model, it's building a new one. This is what the future of decentralized media finance actually looks like in practice. And as we close, just a quick note that this content is for informational purposes only. APXCoin is a utility token designed for use within the APX Group ecosystem and is not intended to be a security. For more details, you can visit the apxgroup.com.
So, that's the blueprint. APXCoin is making a big bet here. They're betting that this combination of a sophisticated multi-chain tech stack and a super transparent long-term economic plan is the real answer. The big question is, can this incredibly detailed approach finally set a new standard for decentralized investment?